Salutations, fam. This is Dark Arim from Haltessiagaming, and in today's video, I've got like a little addendum deck profile because a lot of people have been asking for it. But also, I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about the Ishizu Tear matchup specifically because that's primarily what I've been playing with this deck. Um, and yeah, there have been some changes. The emergency balance definitely threw a wrench into things. So I'm not really sure what I want to play right now. I'm just still just kind of figuring out like what the format actually is and like what I'm gonna play and all that. But yeah, so I'm gonna like go through the deck real quick and kind of talk about like because I want to more so talk about like the Ishizu tier matchup with this. So there have been some changes to the deck. Basically, what I did was I wanted to increase the number of cards in the deck that were good to mill, without necessarily like decreasing like the number of hand traps or like the number of starters and things like that. So just kind of just making the deck better overall versus Ishizu tier. And I played a lot of the Ishizu tier matchup, and I've only lost one match against Ishizu tier. And I have to say, sometimes you're playing against Alex Simo, if you know what I mean. Like this was one of the luckiest things I have ever seen in my life. Like it was actually kind of crazy. But yeah, without further ado, let me just go ahead and hop right into it. So, the deck is organized a bit weirdly. It's more so just like cards are in sections rather than just being monster spell trap. So, we got 3 copies of Melody, 2 Return of the Dragon Lords, triple Chaos Space, um, and that's it for the spells. 2 Vanilla, 1 Alternative, 2 Jet, triple stone and 1 Stone of Legend. This is one of the changes that I made was, well, obviously I had like the Chaos Space stuff because Chaos Space is actually good to mill. It's good to mill, good to draw, and I played a second Jet Dragon instead of the second alternative. As I mentioned in the last video, that was something I wanted to do. 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue, 3 copies of Dictator, 1 Emperor, 1 Levy, 1 Wyvern, 1 Collapse Serpent, and 1 Galactic Spiral Dragon. This is another card that's really good to mill. If you have 2 light/dark dragons on board, you can special it, and it can turn everything level 8. It's a free level 8 special, helps you make rank 8s. I say rank 8s as if I'm playing more than one, but yeah, that's the idea. And like also, you don't have to make a rank 8 with this. You can just link it off as well. And it's also just a body. So that's that section. Moving on, we've got Bystials. Playing same ratio, 3-3-1. One change I do kind of want to make is playing 2 Saronir, 2 Druisworm instead of 3-1. This doesn't change the number of Bystials that I'm playing, but it would give me 1 extra card that's good to mill. Because, milling Saronir and then being able to go Saronir effect, dump to the grave, and, have that extra Darkened Grave, thin the deck by 1. And then also, like, it reduces the redundancy of names because you're less likely to draw like 2 of the same name if you're playing 2-2 instead of 3-1. So that's one change that I would make. Let's see. We've got lastly triple effect Veiler, triple imperm, and triple breakthrough skill. This was one of the things I changed for this format was I decided to play infinite impermanence. Looking at the ban list, I expected to see a lot more flu. That's why I wanted to main imperm. But also bird up is back, so like imperm's good against that deck. But it's just like it's a little awkward because like the Bystials aren't really good against flu like at all, and they're like very very mid against bird up. So I don't know. I didn't lose to bird up. I played against it twice. I won the first match. I got a draw in the other one because I wasn't paying attention to time, unfortunately. And, well, we got a draw. Life points do be mattering though. But yeah, that's it for the main deck. Onto the extra. I did end up playing 2 copies of Spirit Dragon. Hold on, I dropped something. Give me a sec. All right, pick that back up. I gotta be careful with these. All right. Anyway, second copy of Spirit Dragon. Um, the one Spark Dragon, one Moonlight. Talking about this real quick because somebody asked about it. Um, Cloud just like came over, and so the lights got weird. Um, but yeah, basically, you're not bringing back the with the Sage Melody play. You're not bringing back these. You're bringing back the Spirit Dragon. So basically, how it works, you go Sage Search Stone, Melody Pitch Stone, add Blue Alternative, Levy and Air. Make special alternative, make Spirit Dragon tag out in the Spark Dragon, special Levy, banishing 3, bring back the Spirit Dragon, and then Spark Dragon and Levy are both 8, so you can overlay into a rank 8, or you can link them both off because they're both dragons for Hieratic Seal. That's basically that play. Xyz Monster is 1 number 38, 1 Atum, and 1 Wallow. The rank 6s have rarely been coming up, but because a lot of the time when I have 2 Bystials on board, I can just kill them. So usually I just do that. But I do think they're still nice to have because sometimes you just have a hand that's just nothing but Bystials, and you want to be able to play by making the Hieratic King of Tomb. But this might get cut, to be completely honest. I might cut this and play like another rank 8. I'm not really sure. But that's it for the Xyz. Onto Link Monsters. Pisty, Anima. I really love this card now. So actually both of these. So I've been asked why I play Pisty instead of Striker Dragon. If you're not playing the Rockets, they're both effectively vanilla Link 1s with 1,000 attacks that are Dark Dragons. But this does have an effect that can come up sometimes. And it actually did come up against Bird Up because I had an Appaloosa in the right extra monster zone. I like made a Link 2, summon the Pisty here, and then the Appaloosa was pointing and the Pisty were pointing to the same zone, so I was able to revive back a dragon, link off the Pisty and something else for like Hieratic Seal, then link off the Dark and the Hieratic Seal for access code, and go from there. There have been the funniest scenario. I summoned a relinquished Anima in. Let me tell you something. I summoned Dictator. He went Dragos Tapelia, negate, turning it into a level 1, and then I made Anima and I stole this monster. It was really funny. But also just because Appaloosa gives that upward pointing link arrow, you can just, a lot of times you get just beta free negate on Appaloosa. Because if you go normal summon Sage and they negate, you go cool, link off Anima effect, and then that forces out another negate. So it's like, that's pretty good. It just allows you to play through boards a lot easier because you just can convert something to this and just freely force out a negate. But sometimes they play into it and you just get to steal a monster for free. So that's pretty cool too. We got 2 copies of Hieratic Seal, best card in the extra deck if I'm being honest. A bounce that's also follow up, really, really strong. And then we've got the 1 copy of Dark. I've considered playing 2 of this, to be honest. I might cut the Wallow and play a 2nd copy of Dark because the second one has come up a couple of times. But this card's really good. I really like stealing Magnum, getting follow up, and then crashing this to search Levianair, or going into like Selene and Access Code, obviously. I actually haven't summoned Access Code that much. I'm not really playing that many spells, so most of the time if you're using Selene, it's because of like your opponent's graveyard in combination with yours. But like I didn't summon it that much, but it's still a very, very powerful option to have. But yeah, I might cut Wallow and play a 2nd Dark. And then the last card is a copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. A very often underutilized effect of this card. It negates the board. So on summon, it negates your opponent's board and is unaffected unless they have a targeting effect. I feel like a lot of people forget about this because a lot of people forgot about it. And it's so the thing about this is it's actually just as easy to make Underworld Goddess as it is to make like a Boral Sword or like an Access Code, because you get to use one of their monsters. So you can go like Dark, make Dark, bring back a monster, and then if you have like 2 more monsters, right? Or actually, if you have 1 more monster, actually, that you can make Underworld Goddess, because it's 2, 3, 4, and then their monster, and that's Link 5. So yeah, it's actually a lot easier to make Underworld Goddess than people think. And summoning an unaffected 3K that has a negate that also like turns off their board is very, very strong. Because in addition to like negating the board on summon, it also has that effect to negate a special summon from grave effect. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck. Now I'll go over the side deck real quick because but yeah, my side deck's kind of all over the place. I don't know what's in the format, so don't expect it to be like fine tuned yet. Because I'm just kind of like figuring stuff out. But we already know what the first card is. It's got to be Dino-Wrestler Pankratops. But then we got Alpha, Clockymere Drago, 3 Phantasme for Bird Up, 3 Dogwood, 2 Chalice, Duster, and 3 Even the Match. I cannot tell you how good it feels to not have to have half my side deck be back row hate because if I get Mystic Mine, I just auto lose. So the fact that mine is in the format, obviously you still play stuff for back row, but you don't have to have like literally half your side deck, you know. But yeah, this was the side. I side this in against Bird Up because the Bystials are terrible. So all 7 Bystials come out, and then the Phantasmes come in, the Chalices come in, and Pankratops and Alpha come in. And I just can't overstate how good it is to be able to just start your turn already having board presence, you know. Phantasma being able to be that 2400 body that hits over an Appaloosa or crashes with an Appaloosa is very, very strong. And like, you know, being able to have Bystials as well. It does conflict with Imperm sometimes, but like, okay. You know, just Imperm them before you summon the Phantasma. It's not really that hard to like play around that. And it's like, yeah, there are gonna be times where you like draw an Imperm off of it, but it's just like that's fine. At the end of the day, like just having that board presence, being able to like force an interruption, because I can't stress enough how strong it is to be able to force out stuff by just threatening the battle phase. And this is the most powerful going second combination in the game. Oh man, it's so strong. But that's it for the deck profile. But now I'm going to kind of go over just like more matchup specific stuff and just kind of start talking about the Ishizu Tear matchup in general. Because one of the things about Ishizu Tear that I feel like really makes it stand out and why Blue Eye specifically has a good matchup against it is because like your deck inherently does something that is strong against the Ishizu Tear because like Spirit Dragon is that graveyard negate. The Bystials are graveyard disruption, you know? And it's like if they mill your cards, you've got 17 cards in the deck that are good to mill. And obviously if you're playing like the second Serenir, there's 18 cards that are good to mill. You know, 17 cards, if they're milling 10, go like let's say you're going second, right? You draw your 5, they mill 10, right? In a 39 card deck, milling 10, actually not even milling 10, just milling 5. There's like a 95% chance that you'll hit something, right? There's a 95% chance that you'll hit one of those 17 cards. Let's assume you drew 5 of them, so there's only 12 cards. That's still an 85% chance that you'll hit something. And that's if they only mill 5. That's if they only mill 5. They're milling 10. So usually what's happening is I'm hitting like 3, like I usually hit like 3+ cards. Sometimes I've hit as many. I remember one game I hit 6 cards, right? Yes, they will have they're not guaranteed to have it, but like they might have the Ishizu cards to be able to shuffle the stuff back, but that's fine because what that means is that they're using the shuffle back on their turn 0 before you've even started playing. You still are going to draw for turn. You still have that 6 cards to play through their board with, and they're already having to use their resource to deal with your resource before you've even started your turn, right? That's relevant in that matchup. That is a big reason why the matchup is good. Because if you go first, right, and you play, what ends up happening is that you set up a board that is inherently good against Tear because Spirit Dragon is good against Tear. Unlike a lot of interruption that like combo decks usually play where it's like one interruption one time and that's it, Spirit Dragon is once per turn, once per copy. So Spirit Dragon is negating every turn. And the thing about Ishizu Tear is that if you can stop them from getting going, it's really hard for them to play. If you stop that first thing, a lot of time they have to have like one specific thing in order to keep playing. You know, if they go normal summon Rhinoheart and you negate that graveyard effect, a lot of times they pass. A lot of times they might have one extra play that loses to Valor Imperm, you know? And like being able to consistently like set up a board that stops that, because if you normal sage and search Valor and then make Spirit Dragon, Valor Imperm is really strong against Tear. That's if you go first, right? And a lot of times you'll have Bystials, you'll have back row, you might draw more hand traps, you might build a hieratic seal, you might have a rank 8. Like there's a lot of things that you can do. What else is there? But obviously, if you go second, you've got 17 to 18 cards that you can mill off the top that will just generate advantage. And let's say they decide, well, I'm not going to use the Ishizu cards on my turn. I'm going to use them when you try to like play out of your graveyard. That's cool. And that means that these breakthrough skills are live. That means that I get to start my turn with a blue-eyed Jet Dragon on the board. Or in some cases, I've started turns with a live Jet Dragon on the board. And a lot of times, a live Jet Dragon on the board can literally just threaten their entire board just like that. Being able to hit over something and bounce something else can just clear their board before you've even started playing. And it's just in general that concept of being able to do things before they've started playing is what makes the matchup so good for you. In the same way that Tear plays on your turn, a lot of the time you can play on their turn too, because you got Bystials, you got all these mill effects, and it's not really a thing where it's just you're getting snowballed out of the game because they're playing on their turn and they're playing on your turn. It's not like that. You're both playing on each other's turn. But the difference is that like your stuff is just naturally bigger. You know, the Bystials are all 25 and the Blue Eyes monsters are all 3K, and that's very, very relevant. So, because the thing is, I feel like a lot of people, when they do test hands for this deck, or like when they think of the matchup, because one thing I do want to reiterate about like comparing matchups is that you don't base it off of the high roll, right? The like best case scenario where it's like, oh, I drew the great hand and they didn't draw very well, and like that's what you like. You don't base a matchup like that, but you also don't base it off the low roll, because this is the thing I see most players do. What they'll do is they'll base it off of the worst case scenario for the Blue Eyes deck, which is that you like brick and you like draw really poorly, against the best case scenario for like the meta deck player, where it's like, oh, Blue Eyes breaks and then they mill all the tier names or something like that. And it's like, yes, it is possible for that to happen, but that's not how you gauge the matchup. How you should gauge the matchup is what happens on average most of the time when the matchup is played. Most of the time, the reality is that if they mill 10, you're going to hit stuff and they're going to have to contest with those resources before you've even started your turn. They don't have a way to like contest a lot of the things you do. A Blue Eyes Jet Dragon on the board is a very real threat for them. Yeah, they can not kick Kalos, they can root Kalos and negate Stone of Ancients, but Stone of Ancients is not once per turn, so if you hit multiple stones, oh, they negate it, cool. Second stone, summon Jet. They have to use their resources before you even start playing. And then you start playing. So, and that's assuming that they were able to just full combo and that you didn't draw any of your Bystials, any of your hand traps, any of your stuff. So it's like, it's really not a bad matchup at all. And if I'm going to be real, out of the decks that I've played the matchup with, I genuinely do prefer to play Blue Eyes against Ishizu Tear, simply because of that interaction of them milling my deck. Obviously, if it wasn't a Shizu tier, I'd probably like Dragon Link a bit better. But because I benefit so highly from them milling my cards, I honestly prefer playing Blue Eyes against the matchup. But yeah. Just talking about some individual card choices. Obviously, breakthrough skills are really, really good in that kind of environment. Because, by the way, this is not a once per turn effect. If they mill 3 breakthrough skill, you can breakthrough skill 3 times on your turn. It is crazy. And like if you draw it, it's just a monster negate that you get to use twice, because you get to use it on board and then use it in the grave. And a lot of times they're shuffling back your graveyard resources. So if you draw it again, it's just another monster negate. Like this card is very, very strong. And also like this interaction of being able to mill breakthrough skill exactly allows you to like play through boards without even having to worry about it, because being able to have them go on your turn, oh, I'll activate Dweller, cool, chain breakthrough skill negate, and just not have to worry about a lot of stuff like that. It's really strong. Like they have to have everything in order to like really lock you out of the game. And that's like, if they have everything and you don't have that much, then it is what it is. But the reality is that like on average, that is not going to happen. They're not going to on average mill 10 and then hit 2 copies of the Ishizu Shufflebacks and then every single tier name. That's not going to happen every single game. By the way, that is how I lost that one match. That is actually what happened. It was crazy. Um, yeah, like literally my mills, my ten card mill was this. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? This was my 10 card mill. Do you see this? Remember how I said there's 17 cards that you can hit? And this isn't terrible, you know, because we play chaos cards. We can benefit. You want to know what my hand was? Let me tell you what my hand was. Are you ready for this? Are y'all ready to see this amazing hand that I had? This was my hand. I'm thinking this hand's kind of weak, but there's so many cards I can draw that make this live. If he mills a single dark, this hand is live. You want to know what I like? You saw what the mill was. I drew this for turn. All these Bystials in here, all these darks in here, Dictator, Sage, Chaos Spaces, and I hit none of it. And his mill was, I kid you not, two of both Ishizu shufflebacks in every tier name. It was hilarious. It was one of those things where it's so ridiculously unlikely that you can't help but just laugh. It was crazy. But yeah, like it has to be stuff like that. But just to kind of like, you know, do test hands and all that blah blah blah. Wow. Oh snap. Let me not knock the camera over. That was bad. Da, 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 da. The deck is 44, I believe. Yeah. It's 44 cards. So yeah, like I said, I'm still like, you know, figuring out the format. I definitely like the Ishizu Tear matchup, I will say that. Alright, now let's see what we draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this hand's actually not that bad. I was worried for a second. I was like, come on, man. Not like this. All right, so let's look at this hand, for example, right? So going first, this hand is very playable. This hand makes Spirit Dragon Hieratic Seal. Okay, it makes Spirit Dragon Hieratic Seal. Because you go Melody, you pitch the Breakthrough skill. You want to keep the tuner so you can make Spirit Dragon. You're going to add Blue Eyes Alternative. You're going to Special the Alternative. You're going to normal summon the Stone of Legend. You're going to Synchro off for Spirit Dragon. You're going to add that other Blue Eyes. You're going to Chaos Space, pitch Blue Eyes, do the Baby Dragon play. You're going to make Hieratic Seal, and you're going to get a draw. It's actually, so you're going to get a draw, right? That's the hand going first. You're ending on Spirit Dragon plus Spirit Dragon, Breakthrough Skill, and Hieratic Seal, right? That's pretty good. You have a Monster Negate to stop Rhinoheart and Kit Kalos. You have Spirit Dragon to stop the first Graveyard effect, which I mentioned earlier is really strong. You have Hieratic Seal, where if they try to activate the field spell, you bounce the field spell, they can't activate it again because they already activated it. It just didn't resolve. The effect just didn't resolve. And then you special Magnemute, and then you have follow-up. Okay? And you've also, you know, you have your random draw whatever, right? Let's assume we're going second with this hand. Unfortunately, we didn't draw any hand traps, which is kind of crazy because I play like what? 13, I think? I play 13 hand traps. Can never see them. Yes, 13. 3 Baylor, 3 Imperm, and 7 Bystials. Can't see them, right? But let's assume, you know, they go first, they mill 5. What do we hit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we hit a Galactic Spiral Dragon. We hit something. Okay? We hit something. Now, right? We hit Galactic Spiral Dragon. Let's assume they shuffle stuff back. Okay? They're probably going to shuffle this back, right? So we'll shuffle this back. But let's assume they don't do that yet. That's this mill, right? They mill these 5, and that's all they do. And then we draw 1 card per turn. And we have double melody. That's not that bad, actually, because you can get both Levy and Air. You get the alternative line, and then you can also get Levy and Air and Emperor, so that's still pretty good. But let's assume they mill 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look at that. We hit. Oh my god, that's kind of crazy. Suddenly, the number of live cards in the grave has increased from being 1 to 5. Now, even if they have an Ishizu shuffle back, they cannot shuffle back all these cards. They have to have 2. They have to have 2. I have Return of the Dragon Lords, Breakthrough Skill, Chaos Space, Blue Eyes White Dragon, and Galactic Spiral Dragon. And then we're drawing a Bystial for turn. So you see how, like, the more that they do, the more that it does for you as well. And even if they don't do anything, you're still in a pretty good position. Because remember, assuming they didn't mill anything, this was the hand. Assuming they only milled 5, this was the hand, and then that was the draw for turn. Assuming they mill 10, this is the mills, and this is the draw for turn. So it creates a scenario where obviously they can Ishizu shuffle back stuff, but like again, they're using their resources before you've even started playing. And obviously if you mill this, that's even more stuff. Alright. So that's just something I wanted to like really talk about with this matchup. Because I've gotten a lot of people asking questions about it, like the matchup interactions and things like that. How do you play through Dweller? Bystials. You summon big funguses and you kind of sit on them. Interesting thing about Dweller, it prevents you from activating effects. It does not negate the graveyard effects. It prevents you from activating them. You can still resolve effects. So like Return the Dragon Lords does not activate in Grave. You just replace. So you can still return the Dragon Lords under Dweller. You can activate Jet Dragon from hand. You can still special Bystials from hand. You just can't activate your effects in Grave. But don't get me wrong, Dweller is still really strong against you. But that's just, it's not really you just auto win, you auto lose. And the thing is, I'm not saying that Blue Eyes like hard wins the Bystial matchup, but it's a good matchup because of the simple fact that it's, so interactive. The better player usually wins. The person who is playing better usually wins. And the thing is, Blue Eyes is just naturally poised to deal with stuff because it has a very good grind game. Spirit Dragon is really strong against here. I'll just draw a hand and like do like a pass hand or something. All right. Doop, 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 doop. So going first, this is obviously a Chaos Space line, right? This is Chaos Space, Imperm, double Bystial. That's pretty strong. So we're ending on Hieratic Seal, double Bystial. Pretty good. And then off the Hieratic Seal, we're going to go ahead and, summon our Blue Eye stuff. Magnum was searching. If we somehow still need stuff, we can overlay these for a tomb and play that way. Going second against here, this hand is crazy. We have 2 Bystials, Valor, and Imperm. They're not playing through that. Okay? They're not playing through that. So we have this hand, right? This is our hand. Going first, we just mentioned it. Going second, what happens? Mill 5. 1, 2, that's unfortunate. 3, 4, 5. We got 1 hit. Not terrible. It's not terrible. Because also, we can put this stuff back in the deck with the Chaos Space effect. Because we can, search. We can pitch a Dark, add Wyver Burster, banish one of these, put it back with Chaos Space, draw, add the one we put back with Melody. This is live in the grave. Oh my goodness, let's not knock this down. Right? Right. Assuming they mill 5 and then you draw 1, you draw a Breakthrough Skill. Not amazing, not terrible. We're milling another 5. What do we hit? Obviously that Breakthrough Skill. Second Breakthrough Skill. Jet Dragon. 4 and 5. So we hit 3 more cards. Okay? So now we have double Breakthrough Skill, a Jet Engrave, Return the Dragon Lords, and we are drawing the Wyver Burster. So now we don't have to search it with this. So now it's even more beneficial. Well, actually, yeah, this is crazy now because you can just summon the Wyver Burster or banish this. So yeah. Um, so that's really how you should kind of like look at it. Okay? That's how you should look at it. We're at like 30 minutes. Uh, I kind of feel like I've talked enough about Ishizu Tear to get the basics down at least. Um, I think I should probably talk more about like the other matchups because, as I mentioned earlier, right, the Bystials are very mid against Bird Up, and they're absolutely terrible against Flu. They don't do anything against Flu. Typically, if you're summoning Bystials and Flu, it's because you're banishing either your own cards or you're banishing exactly Dimension Shifter. And well, if they are banishing Dimension Shifter, that means they Dimension Shifted you, which is kind of bad for you. Don't get me wrong, you can still play through it because you do still have Imperm and like all this other stuff, and you can just kind of summon a Bystial, and this guy's pretty big. So there is that. There is that. So yeah, siding. These are definitely coming out. These 7 are definitely coming out. What do I do with my side? Is it in here? Yeah, it's right here. I'm probably siding these out. I might keep, some Magnamoots. These come in. These come in. These come in. Sometimes, yeah, I did bring this, huh? Yeah. So typically I'm bringing this up against Flu. Obviously, Quackmere Drago's not a floodgate, but it's a 1900 normal summon. Most of the time, you want to see these, get rid of the back row and everything, and then have like chalices, and then you're already main decking the Imperms and the Veilers. The big thing about that matchup is you just want to like get rid of dead cards, as opposed to like necessarily having as opposed to necessarily having cards to side in. You just want to get rid of your dead cards because you already have like a decent amount of stuff for that matchup. Bird Up, I think I already talked about. Because, I bring in the Phantasmes, the Alphas, the Chalices, and I take these out as well. Bird Up is an interesting matchup right now. So, an interaction with Bird Up that I think is really, really nice to know, because it's pretty strong, is this card. They can't activate Revolt while this is on the field. Did you know that? You know the like very rarely used Floodgate effect of Spirit Dragon? Yeah, they can't activate Revolt under that. It's pretty good. If they send, Nerval or Kit, whatever, you can negate it with Spirit Dragon. So that ends up mattering a lot. The Black Rose Moonlight being able to bounce special summon monsters is pretty relevant too, because they banish, summon their Link, and then you Moonlight bounce after if they've somehow, it's not really that crazy that they'll have an extender to like play through, but like being able to like negate the search and then bounce with Moonlight is pretty good against Bird Up as well. Obviously, Hieratic Seal is pretty good for the same reason. Yeah. Going second, Chalice is also a lot better because being able to just like Chalice when they summon the Shurig is very good. But yeah. And then like Flu is Flu. There's not really much to say about that matchup. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I've rambled on long enough talking about matchups. This has been Dark Slayer from Haltessiagaming. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day. Please check out the description. I usually leave helpful links in there. There's video guides, link to my donation link if you want to help out the channel. Like this video, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. Please go drink some water.